I just said occurred, nice setup. My name is Erika. I'm the Chicago Projects Manager of Growing Power. Many of you are probably... Many of you probably know my father well, Alan, so I'll just get that out of the way. I'm his daughter. And just to kind of continue with the format, I mean, my personal background is artist, art therapist, grew up on a small family farm, and we were the farm labor. So I grew up with that and moved to Chicago to go to art school, went to the Art Institute of Chicago, and was just, completely did not want to deal with the farm, which I think many people who grew up on farms during the 70s, 60s, like, nobody wanted you to farm. So that was something I didn't, my dad would say to us all the time, someday you're going to thank me for this, because you're going to know how to work, and other people aren't going to know how to work. That was the first thing. The second thing is you're going to know how to grow food. And having to do that work day by day by day builds a strength and an understanding of how things work in the world and the universe that nothing else can replace. Just a basic understanding of how natural systems work. And so we're talking about reclaiming that and as a movement, as an educational movement, but also to create economies using that understanding. And that's really hard. But, as I'm sure many of you are artists to varying degrees, that is the ultimate challenge, and that's lots of fun. So as much as there's really challenging, scary stuff happening, because I think it's scary, no matter how much wealth one has amassed, it's scary stuff. How can we look at that as a challenge and find innovative, human ways to solve our problems? And to do so in a way that we're able to bring everyone to the table. And so that's something that Growing Power does. It's something that I'm currently second generation, but really my family has an unbroken line of working with the land. And that's something that means more than anything else. So that's something I feel just really emotional, actually, about being able to say that. And I hope that many of your children and communities will be able to say more of that. So, to the emotional part. Got that out of the way. So I'm going to, and it's kind of serious, I work in Chicago, I'm just going to flash through, we're very visual, and so if you've ever seen my dad talk, he shows like 600 slides, literally, and he just does that very strategically. And I've had several conversations where I'm like, once again, it's my dad, so I'm like, oh, he's so bright, it makes me so irritated sometimes. But people have to see it to believe it. If I talk about worms and fertility, you heard I was just amazed how many people I wouldn't think, get the soil thing and get the worm thing, get it. But you have to really see it. And especially as a people of color-led organization, we really have to prove it. And I think that's important that this movement, along with other movements, whether it's called a movement or a new social capitalism movement or whatever you guys are going to call it, that we understand how all these pieces fit together. And so that's what we've been working really hard on. I'm going to go through these really quickly just so you guys can kind of listen to me and look at these pictures because there's a lot of information here. So grow, bloom, thrive, food policy. Those are 4 core pieces that are important for food system-based change. And part of what we do in this is, I know we're kind of focused on the network piece. We have an initiative called the Growing Food and Justice for All Initiative, whose goal it is to use the food system to dismantle racism. So, and that's, understanding what that is really key to all of this. Because it's not about color, it's not about, a lot of the things I think that many of us have been taught is about power and privilege and how we deal with our power and privilege. Yeah. I feel, as a person of color, I feel very privileged to have the family I have, to have been raised the way I was raised, didn't have a lot of money, but had a lot of access to information. And that's privilege. What do we do with our power and privilege? And how do we equitably share that? So, we were talking last night at dinner with some colleagues about, what would it be like to live in a society, in a Chicago where everybody was a millionaire? What would that look like? Where everyone's basic needs were met. People didn't have to worry about housing, about their food, about their energy, that everyone had their baseline, lived in comfortable, green, safe. What would that look like? What could we achieve if we had that accomplished? So that's what I'm trying to, I'm hoping it'll happen within my generation. This is the key, this is soil, being able to take things that are normally thrown away and being able to reuse them. This picture I think is really phenomenal because it's showing the broken food system and how we're taking it and transforming it into food for worms. and teaching communities how key this is for their ability to first take care of their food needs, and once your belly's full, not just with stuff, but with food that's regenerating your personal ecosystem, what can you do with that? Teaching kids about how they can take that black gold, and this is Nile Delta technology, and take that and sell it as fertilizer. And to be able to do that within a city like Chicago, within a city like Milwaukee, within a city like Denver, within a city like, Lynchburg, Virginia. So this is a project that is, I think it's a kind of an important project. It's my favorite one because it's across from my alma mater, so it has the art component, but it's showing how we can use public land to grow food. How we can take landscapes that are currently just underutilized and turn them into food, both for emergency purposes, so if suddenly there's no food, how would people feed themselves, but to regenerate the soil, and to begin to activate people's understanding of where their food comes from. To do that with kids who are dealing with murder rates that you wouldn't believe, with violence you just couldn't imagine, and bringing them into a space like that so they can learn how to work together, to heal, to understand where their food comes from, and to be the future consumers, entrepreneurs, the folks who can rebuild our world. So that's serious, and this is one of our favorite because you also can be stylish. Okay, so I'm just going to go, I think everyone else is going to talk a lot about, green jobs and equitability, and this is a really key piece around the social justice, and I'm going to keep saying it, dismantling racism, anti-racism principles that these new entities need to really embrace and understand and do that exploration. But this is ending the technological divide. So we're now entering a new phase where there's going to be an agricultural divide, where folks who are entering into this, there's going to be disparities again, and there's absolutely no reason for that to be the case. So we are proposing that this is done in the following technologies. These are all low, they can be very low tech, if any of you have seen our stuff. Unheated greenhouses in the winter, stuff you can get at Home Depot, to something that's very technologically advanced. So that continuum, understanding continuum, scalability, on all levels. This is the last frontier, so everyone wants to do vertical production. If you're in a Mediterranean-style climate, great. If you're not, you need to deal with energy. You have to have heat if you're taking it to that next level. And this is the piece that we're really looking to see happen, especially in cities, where we can take our food waste, any kind of carbon, nitrogen-based waste, and turn it into energy to grow more food and to have a carbonless energy source. This is a project that I'm going to be working on probably for the rest of my life. It's called the Iron Street Farm. It's 7 acres on the Chicago River in Bridgeport, and it will be where we have an anaerobic digester, aquaponics, vermicomposting, composting, small animal husbandry, and hopefully a whole incubation of small businesses that will all work together under one umbrella and really serve as a model for a place like Chicago. And I kind of say, if you can do it in Chicago, you can do it anywhere, because Chicago is rough, but it's also really wonderful because there's so much opportunity. And so I'll end with that. So. Thank you.